I like it. So I'm going to throw some questions at you. You better have the answers.
I want to make up some shit on the fly. I'm gonna fake it while I make it.
I'm rolling on that one. I'm rolling on that one.
Rolling on everything?
Rolling on this one.
Excellent. Welcome back to Moto Photo Adventures, everybody. Guess what? We are back with our good friend Dana Brown. What's up, buddy?
Not too much. How you doing?
I'd wash that hand if I were you.
I'd watch. Never mind.
What are we looking at here?
So this is the new kid on the block. This is a 2023 Moto Morini Escape adventure bike.
Nice. I like it. And they say adventuring.
Yes.
Adventuring is in the name.
Yes.
Nice.
So a little bit about Moto Morini. It is a Italian company. They've been around for 100 years. They originally got their
100 years.
Yes.
I heard their first motorcycles were in 1937.
I'm really bad at math.
Math, okay.
Which is funny because I was a business major.
No. So maybe they were making something else before the war. But I heard that in 47, after the war, is when they really took off.
Yes. They got into more the early stages of endurance racing and all that stuff. They kind of disappeared in the 80s and 90s. They came back into, about 15 years ago into what we kind of see now.
You're talking about with the Dakar rally?
Yes.
That was 83.
Yes.
That
was before I was born. So, again, this is why I don't know.
That was their first adventure bike.
Yes.
Before that, they were just street people.
Yes. So now, in their current installation, they've kind of come back. They are still out of Milan, Italy. Everything is designed and sourced in Italy and Europe. Manufacturing is done in China. Now, I know there's people out there that's like, oh my God, it's a China bike. Guess what?
So what?
My Triumph Tiger is designed and sourced in Hinckley. Yeah. Built in Thailand. No difference.
And like the power plant on this thing is based on a Kawasaki Versys.
Correct.
Yes.
So one of the interesting things about this bike, though, is yes, it is built in China. However, everything is sourced in Europe. So you have Brembo brakes. Yes. You have a Bosch electronic fuel injection system. You have Bosch anti-lock braking systems. You have the Marizocchi suspension. You have a KYB rear shock. So everything that you see component-wise is just like you have on an Aprilia, on a Honda, on a Ducati. Yeah. The list goes on. So it is not a cheap Amazon Chinese bike. It is a legitimate motorcycle. So for the price point that it's at, what you're saying is you're getting above par componentry. Correct. It comes in right now at $69.99. We'll say $7,000. Roughly out the door, you're about $8,200 to $8,300, which is a steal for what you're getting. You're getting a bike that you can literally out of the showroom into the woods that on a budget. Right. Absolutely. Personally, and I used to be a KLR guy, this is the threat to the KLR right now. And the KLR is really the only adventure bike in this class that's cheaper than this one is. The CB500X is also kind of a direct competitor and maybe a little bit less expensive. You might save a few bucks, but you're missing out on all kinds of amazing gadgetry and, like we were just talking about, upgraded components that you don't get on the CB500X. And of course, it's a direct competitor with like the V-Strom era motorcycle. Correct. And it's cheaper than a V-Strom. So now I will say it does have its flaws.
All right, so let's break away from these guys talking about the new Moto Morini, because I'm guessing you're watching this video because you're interested in buying a new bike or you're interested in some things like motorcycling. Well, if you're going to buy a new bike, you're going to buy a whole lot of other gear to keep yourself safe, to be able to travel well, etc., etc. Well, one thing you need to consider is Rick Stewart, scmotolawyer.com. If ever you find yourself into a bad situation, whether it's on your new bike or the one you currently own, make sure you have scmotolawyer.com in your pocket or your saddlebag. I'm going to throw some stuff up on the screen right now. I want you to take a screenshot of it, just in case something bad happens to you on your new bike. scmotolawyer.com, Rick Stewart. Now, back to the guys.
It is not perfect by any means. It does have its flaws, but then again, for $8,200,
It's not a KTM.
No, it's not a KTM 890 Adventure R. It's not a BMW.
Yeah.
But the flaws to me are very, very minimal.
Sure.
I've put about 110 miles on it so far. I've only played about 15 miles in dirt with it, so I haven't really been able to ride it how I normally ride a bike.
Yeah.
But on pavement, I've been very impressed with it. I've ridden it everything from highway. I've done about 20 miles up on I-26. I've ridden all over Charleston, you know, down to the Battery, along the ports.
Which is really, it's home base. That's where this bike is really more
right. I mean, I kind of did the whole commuter thing with it, and it did fantastic. Would I ride it, you know, say from here to Charlotte, which is a 3.5-hour trip? It can do it. Is it going to be comfortable and enjoyable?
It's no worse than some other bikes out there as far as doing the highway. I mean, it's got an 18-liter tank, so you got plenty range. At 45 to 55 miles a gallon, you're looking at, you know, a couple hundred miles, so that's fine. The seat is relatively comfortable from what I understand.
It does. The adjustable windscreen was actually a surprise, too.
Absolutely. That's an upgraded component that you wouldn't expect on a bike of this price point. But what you were getting at, though, is the off-road, and I hear you're going to be thrashing it this weekend.
Yes.
Doing some off-road intensive stuff and really putting it through its paces. But from what I understand, that's really its weakness. It's not really designed for an off-road. It's not a Aprilia Touareg 660 or a Yamaha T7. Right.
And from what we've seen so far, everyone that's taken them off-road has been in the Mountain West or California. So they've been in a drier, rocky climate. From what we've seen so far, this is the first one that is going to be subjected to swampy environments, wet, sandy, and salt air.
Right.
So what I want to know is, how is that chain going to hold up after being wet and sandy and salty after 2 to 3 days?
Right.
And I also want to know, so say when I do drop this, if we do scrape the frame or something, how quick will that salt air corrode? Those are the questions I have, because I've dropped plenty of BMWs, I've dropped plenty of Triumphs out here on the East Coast. I know what they're capable of. I know what the fit and finish is like. This is what I really want to see.
Now, here's the really interesting part, is going to be how long it's going to take you to bash in those front header pipes. That is, to me, the biggest weakness on this entire bike, is the bash plate. It's the most bizarre thing. It's like two little aesthetically pleasing fairings that don't even cover what really a bash plate is for. So the pipes are completely exposed. That's, to me, the biggest thing is we need an aftermarket manufacturer to come out with a real bash plate. They do make an aftermarket, a more beefed up bash plate that you can order from Moto Morini, but it's metal, but it still doesn't cover the front header pipe. So that's the biggest downside to me for taking this bike off-road.
The one thing I don't like is Moto Morini makes an OEM caliper protector. They are plastic.
For the clutch and the brake?
Yeah, and they just, for any adventure bike, they need to be aluminum or steel. Every bike that I've built, I've always used bark busters or Acerbis or something like that.
SW Motek makes some good ones.
Yes. So that's kind of one of those things where tomorrow I know I'm going to probably break
that
caliper too.
Hey, Brett Tax has already broken his. So.
Yeah, so I'm going to be up there with you.
But at the same time though, okay, so we have that where you're like, I wish they'd have done that better. But look at, they are adjustable, so they do have the little click knobs to where you can, which is, I mean, you know, for a bike of this price, you would not expect a nice upgrade like that. So
That's true.
Both the brake and the shifter lever are adjustable.
Yep. But I guess, I mean, tomorrow we'll see. I mean, I got the go-ahead from the regional rep to, he said, ride it like you normally do, and I was like, famous last words.
Oh my gosh.
So,
he apparently has not seen your video where you talk to us about how to ride in sand on the South Carolina adventure route.
He actually did, and he was like, I want you to treat this bike like you treated your Tiger. So
okay.
We'll see.
Now, I'm really going to be interested in how you feel the handling is off-road, because it is a heavy bike. Let's not, you know, beat around the bush. For the 650 power plant that it has, it's like 80 pounds heavier than my CB500X, and even heavier than a V-Strom. So That's going to be an interesting result to see how you fare with that.
And this is where I compare it to the brand new KLRs. The new KLR weighs 502 pounds wet. This weighs 490 pounds wet. They're both 650s. The KLR is a little bit taller. This
with 11,000 feet of suspension travel.
Yeah.
And we have about 7 with this one.
So I'm kind of curious, like now we had a 2023 KLR that I've rode quite a bit, and I want to compare the two because my KLR experiences as like a newer adventure rider and then riding that newer one, I was like, okay, I have an idea what the KLR is capable of. I want to ride this and compare that because I think personally this is more going to be more accessible for more riders because a KLR is like a seat. You can't ride a KLR.
No.
I actually would like to see you try to ride a KLR.
Yeah. I would need platform shoes like we used to wear back in the 70s.
Because like with a 32-inch seat height, this is more accessible for more riders.
Yeah.
So I just want to see how this will handle off-road and what it can and can't do.
And that brings up a really good point. I mentioned, you know, the 7-ish inches of suspension travel might be a little bit limiting for an off-road machine, but that's part of what gives us the lower seat height, which is an advantage for lower riders like me. So you got to take the good with the bad. It's you know, they've clearly designed it for smaller stature riders like me. I think people who are in the 6 foot range, 5'10", do find that the cockpit is a little bit tight. You know, the seat heights are a little bit high, so your knees are kind of bent a little bit. But I just took it around the block and it felt right at home. I thought it was fantastic. Now, another thing, talking about the comfort, did you realize that the handlebars are completely adjustable?
I did.
So they have a mounting mechanism in here that allows you to move the handlebars forward and back to accommodate what you feel is most comfortable. I mean, just brilliant little things like that I think was the Italian infusion into this machine. And the design, I think it's a beautiful looking bike.
Oh yes, it's a beautiful bike. It has a Dakar rally bike styling to it, even though it's not at all, but it has that styling to it.
Yeah.
And you can definitely tell there's a little Italian design cues here and there. But like I've already adjusted the handlebars on this a couple times playing around with them. So there's definitely little things here and there that are they're intriguing because it's something you wouldn't expect on a bike of this price range compared to your Aprilia.
Yeah, absolutely. You expect more refined features like that on a KTM or a BMW. So it's nice to see that they've incorporated. And the adjustable windscreen. I mean, you don't even get an adjustable windscreen on some higher price point motorcycles. So that's kind of neat that they've got the adjustable mechanism in there. And it's a little fiddly, but you can adjust it with one hand while you're riding. So that's kind of neat.
And then on the tech side of things, it does have some unique features. You've got, you know, built-in LED like auxiliary lights that are built in with the headlights and all that. It's got an integrated headlight system.
All LED,
that
which
kind
is fantastic.
of turns on when it gets dark outside, kind of like most modern cars. I thought that was very interesting because only BMWs have that. Triumphs don't even have that. Some of the other things I thought was interesting is the way the switch cube is. And some of the options, it's just a totally different layout compared to most like European motorcycles. Triumphs, for example, you know, you do everything with your thumb. This style is more, you just use your fingers. So it's kind of took me a little while to get used to it. It's not that I like it, I don't like it, it's just, it's different.
You're not used to it yet, so you can rock it back and forth with your index finger instead of your thumb.
That's a Ducati thing.
Okay.
Some Ducatis are like that, some of them aren't.
Yeah, gotcha.
We had an MV Agusta sport bike that was very similar to that as well. Also on the tech side, you do have a 7-inch TFT dash.
That's amazing. It looks fantastic when you're sitting on it too.
I like the concept of it. It's very similar to my Triumph Tiger. However, the software layout and the hardware does need some work.
Okay.
But on the other hand, I'm also like, it's an $8,000 bike.
I know.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it's got some really cool features. One in particular that really impressed me is it's got TPS. So that is amazing on a bike of this price point to have a motorcycle that automatically tells you the tire pressure on your bike. That's pretty cool.
Now, I'll be the first to admit I haven't played around with some of the Bluetooth integration. It does have the ability to integrate a Bluetooth, you know, to our Cardo or Senna's. It does have that capability.
You can accept a phone call and do things like that.
Right. It does have a proprietary, it's kind of like Google Maps. So you have a nav system. Now, the issue that I have ran into when I talked to the Moto Morini rep that came and kind of demoed the bikes for us, it doesn't work off pavement. And it's completely great for if you're commuting on pavement. I have no issues with that at all.
But it doesn't work with OnX or...
Correct. It doesn't work with OnX, Gaia, River, which if we do it at any adventure traveling, we're always off pavement.
Right.
And I brought up to him, and he was like, this is stuff that he was taking back to Moto Morini. You know, I was like, look, when we ride the South Carolina Adventure out, we hop from dirt to pavement to dirt all the time. And I was like, you know, on pavement, we have the route. It works. When we were riding on dirt, those are dirt roads that aren't on anything else except a GPX file in a different software.
Right.
And he was like, honestly, that's something that's way above my pay grade. We'll figure that out.
That's a good sign, though, that the reps are listening.
Right.
And they're willing to take stuff back. But I would imagine some aftermarket manufacturers are going to come out with some sort of a rally bar of some sort, so you can mount a GPS. That's it's going to happen eventually. It's a newer model, so you know, maybe we don't have as many aftermarket accessories yet for this bike, but you know, they're going to come. It's going to happen.
Well, I mean, like my plan for tomorrow is I have an extra quad lock. I'm going to throw my quad lock on, run my USB cable to charge it.
Yep.
And then I'm just going to run that
Good to
tomorrow.
go. Makes a good point, though. It does have 2 USB ports already built in, so that's kind of nice.
Yes, it does.
You know, it's got some really nice refinements in there that, you know, price point you wouldn't expect.
Yep.
Talk to me a little bit about rake and trail and the tires on this bike and why you think that that makes it a little more road biased as opposed to off-road.
So I'm on the fence with this right now, because right now the way it's made and set up, it's kind of like a cross between the V-Strom and a KLR. And yes, it has the road manners of a V-Strom. But on the other hand, when the 15 miles I did ride dirt roads, it was very dual sporty.
Okay.
That's where I'm torn. I'm torn between it because the 15 miles of dirt roads, I mean, it was on the Navy base.
Yeah.
I was playing around. I was like, all right, I was able to kick the rear end out very easily. I did feel the weight every now and then, but it wasn't like I was riding a bike that should not have been off-road.
Gotcha.
So it was kind of interesting.
So you got to clarify now, we're talking hard-packed forest roads.
Yes.
Not rocky and not sandy and not muddy.
These are just groomed dirt roads.
So for the amount of suspension that you have, I think that you were probably doing just fine with it.
Yep.
And you bring up a really good point. You were able to kick the rear out, and that's because you are able to cut off the brake...
ABS.
ABS, yeah.
Now, there are no riding modes. There are some misinformation. There's a lot of misinformation out there.
There's 2 riding screens, so people think those are riding modes,
right.
But yeah.
So there's misinformation out there. People say, oh, there's 2 riding modes. There's an off-road mode and a pavement road.
Yeah.
There is not. So the off-road mode strictly is it kills ABS to the back tire.
It's got a new screen layout, and yeah, you can turn ABS off. On-road mode, the ride mode, you can't turn ABS off.
Correct. So it is what it is. I spent all day today actually riding around with the ABS off.
Oh, yeah. If you're a good enough rider, you know, it should be fine.
One of my other bikes is a Honda CRF 300L, and it does not have ABS, and I ride it around all the time. So
my CB500X didn't have ABS, and I never had a problem. Well, part of why I asked you, the question I asked you, is because we are looking at a 19-inch front instead of a 21-inch, so that's a clear indicator that, you know, it's probably not designed for off-road. 17-inch rear, and they're both tubeless tires, which I think is phenomenal at this price point. most people who are going to be doing an adventure touring ride, you know, maybe you're going to go on a ride, you know, ride through the mountains and hope that you find a dirt road here and there. You're not really off-roading, you're just taking it on a trip. I think the tubeless tire is the way to go because you can patch it pretty quickly. You do get the option for the spoked wheels, even though it's tubeless, which I think is a phenomenal upgrade, and they're really cool spoked wheels too. They don't go to the outer edge like my Aprilia Touareg do.
Yep, they're the centerline spokes.
Centerline spokes. It's really a phenomenal wheel to be on a bike of this price point. The base model does come with without the spoked wheels though, right?
No.
Oh, this is the base?
No, this is the base model.
Okay.
Yep.
But I thought that was really neat that it's tubeless, Pirelli tires, you know, I mean, it's a really nice setup. The rake and trail setup to me also sort of says it's probably more geared towards road because, you know, it's designed to be a little bit more flickable. You don't have it reaching way out front like you would on a pure dirt road type bike, an off-road oriented bike. And it does come with some really neat accessories available. So it does totally come with a complete 3 luggage hard kit that's based on SW Motek's hard luggage.
Yes, it does.
So you could buy this thing and hook it up and be ready for a big adventure trip within a weekend.
Oh yes, there's a lot of guys in Europe that have actually been using these with the hard bags, and they've ridden all over Europe for the last 2 years. They've been very popular in Europe, and we're just starting to see them in the US right now.
True.
So no one, as far as I can tell, has ridden, you know, BDRs or the Trans-America Trail yet.
Right.
But I mean, it's just a matter of time before they start getting them out there. So
some idiot's going to probably take it out on the TET, the Trans-Euro Trail, at some point. But I don't know. I don't know if it's the right bike for that.
Who knows?
But I do know guys who have done the TET on a CB500X.
Yeah.
So maybe someday they will. But you're absolutely right. We think of it as a new bike because it's new to the U.S., but Europe loves Moto Morini. They're all over in Europe. Now, design-wise, do you have a particular feature about the bike that you love? I'll tell you mine while you're thinking about yours.
Okay.
I love the little tiny exhaust. That is so cool.
Is that because you're a small person?
No, I just think it's a very minimalist exhaust instead of having this humongous can. It allows the bike to look very slim. It allows it to be really well built in terms of luggage, so you don't have to have the outer luggage on the right side sitting way outside here to accommodate some big can back here. It can be, the luggage hangs symmetrically, which I think is beautiful. So I think it's really cool, and the sound isn't horrible. It's fairly quiet, but as you mentioned, once you got up to what,
3,000 RPM.
3,000 RPM.
It's got a little throaty rumble.
Little rumble to it. So I think that's a really neat design feature in my opinion.
I don't think I have a favorite feature per se. I just think there's a lot of little things that make sense. There's a lot of things on it that make you wonder, why don't the big money bikes have this? Example, down by where the oil sight glass is, there's a plate that tells you how much oil to put in when you do a filter change, how much oil to put in if you don't do a filter change, how much oil should be in the bike.
So if you never crack open your instruction manual like many of us do, it's right there.
Like that's a good example. Another thing is like just little things like the adjustable handlebars. Like,
I think that's brilliant.
My Triumph Tiger costs $18,000, does not have that.
Right.
Like, come on, Triumph, like, let's go here.
Yeah.
You know, it's just little things here and there. And I look at this bike and I'm like, the BMW GS doesn't have this.
Right, right.
The Ducati Multistrada doesn't have this.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
So it's just little things here and there. I'm like, all right, makes sense to me. So
yeah, it sounds like they put some good thought into it. The all of the lights being LED, which is great, you know, and they're very durable. I know a lot of people have dropped these bikes and no problem with the LED lights. I will tell you personally, if I was going to be doing a long trip with this motorcycle, the one thing that I go, oh, is the air box is underneath the gas tank. So you got to take the seat off, both seats. It's a two-part seat.
Yep.
And then you got to take your tank up, and that's where your air filter is. So that's one downside with this bike for a long distance trip. You're not going to be able to do stop and roadside air box fix in the middle of the jungle.
But with the maintenance intervals of 6,000 miles, so.
That is a good point. And the warranty, dude.
3-year warranty.
3-year warranty. Yep. That's unbelievable.
None of the Japanese manufacturers have that.
Yep.
Triumph's is a 2-year warranty. BMW, I want to say, is a 2-year warranty. Ducati, I think, is a 2-year. Royal Enfield's the only other company out there with a 3-year warranty.
Aprilia is a 2-year.
Okay.
Yeah, that I think it's unbelievable. They're putting a statement down. Yep. Obviously, it's not a well-tested bike. It's a fairly new model, so we can't say good or bad in terms of reliability. But being that the engine is based on a V-Strom, which is a solid engine, I would imagine.
Kawasaki versus.
I'm sorry, Kawasaki. I would imagine that it's you know, going to be a perfectly durable bike that's going to last years and years and years.
And I will say the other cool thing is the color schemes.
I do, yeah. I
mean, they come in like a beautiful Italian red, and then they've got this nice grayish silver color, and then they've got a really nice gloss black.
I'd be all over this gray.
So yeah, this gray color, I've been falling in love with this the last 2 days I've had this bike. So
the red kind of reminds me a little bit of Africa Twin.
Yep.
It's kind of following that scheme, but yeah, hopefully we've given you guys a lot of good points and a lot of bad points about this bike, the ups and the downs, so you can make an educated buying decision. But in our opinion, for the money, this is a heck of a bike, and you can pick one up here at the Charleston Triumph dealership. Dana's got you covered. And any other last words or thoughts on this particular bike?
Not yet. I'll let you know tomorrow if I break one in the salon.
Hey Chris, I broke the bike.
Here's some YouTube footage, or here's some iPhone footage for you.
Thank you again for watching, you guys. We appreciate it. Please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. All of your comments, we love hearing from you guys, and of course we love your support. That's how we're able to continue putting more footage and new footage out for you guys. So we appreciate it, and we will see you in the next episode.